Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with an update video today, coming to you from Portugal. We managed to cross the border the other day, spend a couple of days here. Doesn't really matter, I think, where you are at the moment, whether it's in Spain or here in Portugal. The health situation is what it is. So that's why we decided to come here and spend a bit of time on the beach. Couldn't do it last year, so taking advantage of the borders being open this year. Now we're going to go for a drive, have a bit of a chat about the current situation in both countries. I'll show you what this part of Portugal looks like. We'll go for a nice drive along the coast, so stay tuned. So, as I said, we decided to cross the border, come to Portugal, spend a couple of days here, or a week and a bit, let's say, and didn't have any problems to cross the border. We had to get a COVID test before we came, 25 euros each for the two adults. Nothing for the child, he was free. So we had to get proof that we didn't have COVID, just in case you get stopped by the police. You never know what's going to happen. So we went and got that test done on Friday, I think, and we came over on Saturday. Fairly good trip, a bit wet, but apart from that, everything was okay. And here in Portugal, as I said, pretty similar to what's going on in Spain at the moment. Not really much difference there. Cases spiraling, as we saw yesterday in the video in Spain. They hit the 100,000 mark yesterday. 100,000 reported cases in one day. And here in Portugal, they are also very, very high. But the good news is, from what I can understand, is that it's not being reflected in the hospital system or with deaths, although there are people dying, not as many as there were last year, of course, and the hospitals aren't as busy as they were last year either. So that's a pro. Now, a lot of people going on in the comment section, this is Omicron, nothing to be worried about, it's just like the flu, blah, 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 blah. Lots of health experts out there, I must say. Lots of closet virologists, closet epidemiologists who know what's going on better than anybody else. But the problem that we have now is that even though the hospitals aren't filling up for the time being, very quiet here today in Peniche, you can see. So as I said, even though the hospitals aren't filling up, if you catch COVID, which is what happened to us in November, you have to spend 10 days in quarantine. Well, actually now 7, because the government changed it yesterday down to 7 days in obligatory quarantine. That's the issue that we have at the moment. That if, let's say, a small company, 20 people, 15 people working at that company, and 10 people catch COVID, which is highly likely at the moment, because today it's a question of not who's got COVID, but who hasn't got COVID. So let's say 50%, 60% of the workforce or even more come down with COVID. How's that company going to operate? How's a restaurant going to stay open? How is a small business going to stay open? That's the question. And that's the issue that we have at the moment, with so many people catching this virus, because it is highly infectious, spreads like wildfire, as we know. If you've got a small company or even a big company and you've got a serious amount of people in that company getting sick, then you've got a serious problem. How is the company going to stay open? How is it going to operate? And that's what the worry is at the moment. Not necessarily for the economy, that businesses are shutting down because governments are shutting them down, but they just can't operate because so many people are off sick because of that 7-day mandatory quarantine. Because when you get it, you have no choice but to spend 7 days now at home. And like I said, when I got it in November, it was 10 days quarantine. So it's been reduced by 3. And that was the big announcement yesterday. It's what the government put on the table yesterday, reducing that quarantine period. And they're talking now about whether kids are going to go back to school on the 10th of January. That's now the big issue. The health minister seems to be in favour of kids going back to school, back to the classroom, I mean, rather than online. And that's what they're going to be discussing over the next few days. There's a lot of people on holidays at the moment, so it's not really affecting the workforce so much at the moment, but imagine what's going to happen after the 10th of January when a lot of people start to go back to work. That's going to be the issue. Jesus. Now you can see here by the people walking around that a lot of people are wearing face masks, although outside here face masks are not compulsory. They are compulsory indoors, not outdoors, I believe. So it's about 50-50. Obviously, if you go down to the busier parts of the town, you see people wearing face masks, but not so much here, where there's not many people around. Now we're going to go on this coastal drive here. Spectacular views we are going to have. It's a bit overcast at the moment, 12 degrees Celsius. I think it's going to get up to around 17 degrees today. And here on the Atlantic coast, the weather has been fantastic up until now. It was a bit rainy on Saturday when we got here, but the last couple of days, very good weather. 19 degrees yesterday, I think. The sun was out, and it was a great day. And today, although it's a bit windy, it's not raining, which is a positive, because as you can imagine here on the Atlantic coast, the storms roll through quite frequently, and you can often get caught in a rainstorm. But today, it doesn't look as though it's going to rain. Now, another thing that I picked up on here is that COVID testing seems to be free. If you go to one of these centres and get a test, it seems to be free. Lots of people queuing up to get tests. Whereas in Spain, as I said, it costs 25 euros each. So here, free in Spain, 25 euros. And another thing I've noticed is that face masks here are a lot cheaper, let's say, than they are in Spain. So that's another thing that Portugal has in its favour at the moment. Cheaper masks, cheaper testing. So I don't know what's going on in Spain. A lot of people are getting rich at the moment because of COVID. And here the government seems to be a lot more generous when it comes to helping people out. But anyway, it is what it is. Now going for a drive along here, the magnificent Atlantic, as we can see in front of us. People that have been watching this channel for a while will know that this is one of my favourite parts of the world. Peniche here in Portugal. I love spending time here. I love getting away from Madrid and spending time here on the Atlantic. This is extremely dangerous. Luckily no traffic. And especially this time of year when there's not a lot of tourists around. Come here in summer, the place is packed with tourists. A bit hard to enjoy things, but this time of the year, fantastic. You can really enjoy the views. You can go for long walks along the beach. The dog absolutely loves it here. I take my camera out, get some great shots, because there are some spectacular views here, and massive waves crashing on the rocks there. Always some great pictures to be taken. This part of Peniche here, there's some good restaurants. This place on the right here is a nice fish restaurant, very fresh fish. And that's one thing that I've noticed here in Portugal, or at least this part of Portugal, is there's lots of butcher shops, so you can buy meat everywhere you go, but it's not easy to buy fresh fish unless you go to a supermarket. There's no specialized fish shops for some reason. There were a couple, but they've closed down. This place here on my right also sells fresh fish, pro fresco, but a little bit expensive in my opinion. So if you want to get a nice fresh fish without going to a restaurant, not easy to do. Here's surfer going down to get some waves. Been some really big waves lately here. Someone's in a hurry there. Another surfer in a hurry there. Don't know what he's doing. Bit of a clown in a hurry to get to the waves. Overtaking people here on a dangerous bend. We've got some Germans in front of us in their camper van. Lots of camper vans in this part of Portugal. Just parking on the coast here. Although it is becoming more and more difficult to do because they're cracking down on it. There's lots of signs up nowadays saying that camper vans are illegal. We've got a British tourist in front of us there, somebody who has escaped the United Kingdom and has got down to Portugal in their car. So I'll start to wrap the video up. Hope you have enjoyed the views of this little town here. It only takes about 5 minutes to get from one side to the other, so it's not very big. But as I said, it's a place that I love to come to, spend a bit of time and get away from the hustle and bustle of Madrid. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the video out as you normally do. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.